Welcome back, everybody. It is Bulldog1205, and I am super excited to once again be making a Marvel Snap video. I've been making a lot of short form content. You may have seen some of my YouTube shorts. I've been putting out some of those for Marvel Snap. It's been a while since I've done a full-length video, but I had to do it for this new team that I am absolutely loving ever since the Sandman change. So this is a team that I really love because it doesn't have any Series 4 cards, doesn't have any Series 5 cards, but it actually works to counter several of those big bad Series 5 teams and can go up against them and win. Works very, very well against to counter a lot of the meta teams that we are seeing right now. So Sandman is just very, very good here. I feel like this is now one of the most powerful cards in the game. It used to be 4 cost, 1 power. It is now 5 cost, 5 power. Ongoing, players can only play 1 card a turn, and that is something that we are going to manipulate in order to try to help control the battlefield, and we do that with one of the other best cards in the game, Aero. On reveal, move all enemy cards played this turn to this location. And how this really works with Sandman, if we can get to the end of the game and we have a lead in 2 of the lanes, we can. And you can only play 1 card. If you don't have a card that can provide power and buff up your other sides, you basically find yourself in a position where you can't win. So we're going to use Sandman to try to create those situations. We're going to use cards like Aero, like Magneto here to control and manipulate the lanes to try and help set us up in those situations. And cards like Daredevil to be able to see what our opponent is playing in order to actually to then know exactly where we can play to get that set up for the end that we want. So I'll show some videos here in a second, but let's do a quick kind of run through here on how I like this team to work. Here, in an ideal situation, if everything worked perfectly, now that never happens, right? But just to kind of go through it, Sunspot, I play Sunspot turn 1. Turn 2, I would play Daredevil. Turn 3, I would go with Electro. Electro on reveal +1 max energy. That's going to allow me to play Sandman next turn. His ongoing, you can only play 1 card a turn. Doesn't really matter because we want to go Sandman next anyways and set that up for both players. So we don't have to worry about that ongoing. I've actually also got Wave in there as a way to get Sandman out next as well if you want to. But then if I can get Sandman on turn 5 or on turn 4, then turn 5 is a read because we can see what our opponent's doing. We can use Professor X to lock down a lane. We can use Magneto to try and shift cards over. We can use Aero to try to shift cards over. We can use Shang-Chi to take out a big card if they try to play a 9 power card or higher. And Spider-Woman is just Wonder Woman. Wow, we're going across realms here. Spider-Woman is just a card that I really like quite a bit. There are a few cards here that I wish I had instead. I'm just playing with what I've got. I do not have, instead of Magneto, or maybe in addition to Magneto, maybe instead of Spider-Woman, I'd really love to have Dr. Doom here. That would allow us to play cards in all 3 lanes. And could really be nice. I actually just got Spider-Man. Spider-Man can completely block off a location. I feel like that would be pretty useful. When I was making these videos, I didn't have him. I just now pulled him. I have added him. I'm going to add him into this deck now and see if I like him. But I haven't replaced Killmonger. Killmonger I've actually been using because one of the weaknesses to this team, we've seen a bunch of Sunspot out there, and just being able to get a bunch of low-cost cards out on the board early before I get a chance to control it could have been a weakness a little bit. So I threw Killmonger in there. If I've got Sunspot out, I won't use Killmonger. I can even just pass on turn 3 if I don't have any of those other cards, and Sunspot can beef up. But if I don't get Sunspot, that's my only 1 energy card, I can use Killmonger to take some of theirs out. Going up against some of the Thanos decks and things like that, there's some 1 energy cards. So I just had Killmonger in. But another card, Polaris. Polaris is a card I would like to get to throw in here to be able to move a 1 or 2 cost, do something like move an armor to a different spot so that one of their big cards are not protected or something like that, or whatever the case is. Be able to destroy something. I'd really like to get a Polaris in there. There's a bunch of different ways you can kind of set this up. It doesn't have to be just these, but you can see the core concepts. So let's get over and let's get some of the actual gameplay here that I put together. We'll go through about 5 minutes here. These are all recorded on mobile, so it's kind of only takes up part of the screen. We'll just throw it over here on the side. So here, starting off on turn 5, you can see I didn't have much up. All I had was Sunspot and Sandman to this point. But Shang-Chi able to destroy one of those big cards we see with Shuri. We see a lot of these high power cards. And then here's where on these final turns, things can be a read. A lot of times we get into this situation where we've got a lead in 2 lanes, and I'll put Aero in the middle. This time I anticipate, I was actually pretty proud of this. I was like, they're gonna go Zola. They're gonna go Zola because of that Black Panther. And I was able to just pull Zola out of the way. Shang-Chi for those big cards. Aero, destroy it. It's a lot easier to read when your opponent only has one option to play. So here we go. This is kind of getting into that setup that I like. We got Daredevil. We went to Electro. I destroyed Electro because I didn't know I was gonna pull Sandman right there. I would have put Electro someplace where I could keep his power otherwise, but ended up so again, a lot of people think in order to play Sandman, you have to get a big lead early, and that's not necessarily the case. All I had out here at this point was Daredevil. And then I go into Sandman here. And now we've got a setup where I'm actually trailing at this point. I've got Sandman, each person can only play 1 card, but I can manipulate this. So we've got Red Skull. Look, we can use Aero to bring it wherever we want. We can use Shang-Chi to just destroy it. And now, because I've got Daredevil, because I can see what my opponent is doing, I can make all these reads on the final turn, or on the next to last turn, turn 5. And they're gonna play Red Skull with Shuri. That's pretty common, right? Well, we're just gonna use Shang-Chi. We're gonna destroy that. And now I've got the situation that I want. I've got the lead in 2 lanes, and I've got Aero here. So I can just use the Aero in the middle. We're gonna pull it to the middle as long as they don't have anything that's going to buff those other sides. I don't have many cards here. Like, I'm able to win a lot of battles where I've actually got significantly less power than my opponent. You can see I've got 9. I've got 9 power to 38, but I was able to win this battle, get 8 cubes because I controlled the lanes where we wanted. So here I actually paused this when they cut off. Here's an example of using Magneto. At the start of this, I was down on the left, up on the right. We had a tie in the middle, but I'm creating that situation with Magneto on the final turn. I just wanted to show this one with Magneto. I knew that if I played Magneto here, we're gonna drag over these other 2 cards into the middle. And that's gonna leave me with, after Magneto plays, a lead in all 3 lanes. So then wherever they play, if they just have a card that's going to give power to a single lane, they can't take a win. So yes, there are cards like, again, this is where like Dr. Doom would be great, where you can play him in all 3 lanes. There are some cards that can come out there and beat that. But in general, here's another common example. Look at this. They loaded up on Shuri, and it was pretty obvious to see what they're doing here, right? This is one of those meta teams. They're going Shuri into Red Skull. Look at that, 240 power. Why did they do that? I guarantee you they've got a Taskmaster. They were going to put Red Skull and then go Taskmaster and fill up the lanes. Well, I just said, okay, we're going to Professor X that. We're going to completely block that lane. We're going to counter that Shuri team and not let you play the cards where you want. That's kind of one of the key aspects behind this team. We are not going to let you play the cards where you want. This has been one of the meta teams, right? Zabu teams, or even some like Mr. Negative Bass. We've got some really nice cards out here. And this Sandman really counters these Zabu teams and these Mr. Negatives because you can only play 1 card. It doesn't matter if you reduce the cost. It doesn't matter if you've got 0 cost cards in your hands, if you can only play 1 anyway. So I saw they had Wolfsbane over there. They were gonna take the right. I knew I could get a lead over on the left. I had Mysterio here in the middle, and then it was like, okay, we're just gonna use Aero to pull whatever you had over here. And we had Fist Towers. That was even more helpful. But even without Fist Tower, I knew I was gonna have 19. They're not gonna have a 19 power card, 19 power from a single card. Just use Aero to pull it over. Works very, very well. So there are just so many things to do, and it's all about like Daredevil makes it nice because it's all about being able to read your opponent and decide how you want to manipulate the lanes to get the result you want. So here again, got Daredevil. We can see where they're going with Sandman. This is going to be another example of where I like Magneto here. Unfortunately, they destroyed that card. I like playing Sunspot in the Quantum Realm. Could build up a little power there. It didn't work. And now we've got Sandman, and I'm actually behind. And that's generally not what you want. But I know that by using Magneto, I was able to pull Killmonger over. So by pulling Killmonger over, I was creating a situation where I was going to have a lead in all 3 lanes prior to them playing Groot. So then it didn't matter where they played Groot, what else they played there. I was going to take that. Unless they had a card that could that could provide power and provide a buff to the other side. Again, I keep going back to the example. Something like Doctor Doom works very well against this, so I'd like to, or it can work with it as well. So I'd love to get a Doctor Doom in here. Unfortunately, I don't have that card. But there are just so many different ways to play, and this is great because I've got Shang-Chi in. It can counter those Shuri teams, Shuri's popular meta teams. This works very, very well against the Thanos decks. A lot of the Thanos decks, because what do they throw out a ton of one cost cards, right? And if I can get Sandman out there on turn 4, they can't use multiple cards anymore, and it can work out well there. We see, what do we see? Galactus teams that are a lot of times a problem. Well, Daredevil's great for Galactus. My favorite thing, I wish I had one of these recorded. One of my favorite plays is when I have Daredevil and they try to go Galactus, and they play Galactus and I just play Professor X right on top of it. Like, you don't want to play Galactus when they've got Daredevil and can read that. But even then, playing Sandman, if I anticipate it, I can play Aero. Like, if I'm expecting Galactus, I can play Aero on turn 5 when I'm expecting that Galactus play. Bring Galactus into a lane that's already occupied, something like that. I can play Sandman into the Galactus lane. A lot of times they go Galactus Death, so they've got that free death to play, right? When you play Sandman, they don't have a free death anymore. So there are a lot of different things. A lot of different things we can do out of it. And again, it's not like it's so powerful that it's an instant win against Thanos or instant win against Galactus or anything like that. Against these Shuri teams, those are kind of some of the meta teams I've been seeing and playing a lot against. But they have multiple ways to counter them. And I've got multiple ways to get to the final setup that I want. Again, I didn't talk about Mysterio at all, but Mysterio is actually a card I really like in here that I should highlight real quick before we go, because it's something it's definitely not one that's necessary, but a 2 cost 4 power is actually very, very solid. And then the illusions work really nice where my opponent doesn't know where that 4 power is. And one of the downsides to Mysterio, the reason I haven't used him on a lot of my other teams, is he takes up so many spots. But if I'm going like Electro Sandman and I'm trying to get Sandman out there by turn 4, we aren't using up all of the slots. That's kind of a key part of it. We're setting it up so both on our side and on our opponents, more so for our opponent's side really, but if our opponents can't fill up all the slots, we can use Magneto to move cards. We can use Aero to move cards. It's not something where a whole lane is going to be blocked so we can't move any cards. But because so few cards are out there, it doesn't matter that we've got 3 Mysterios out there. And in fact, in some locations that can actually benefit us. If it's a location where you get extra power, or like the Quantum Tunnel where you play a card there and it swaps one with your deck. Well, you can have the 0 power Mysterio illusion go there and it will get swapped out and you can get a free card play there. So you can even use that to your advantage a lot of times. You just don't have to worry about it taking up space like you do with a lot of other decks. So Mysterio is one I like there, and why I put him there. But again, there are a bunch of different other cards. Kingpin is a card you could use. When a card moves here on turn 6, destroy it. We're doing a lot of moving, right? I thought this would be a great card to put in this deck. I still think you can make it work. I don't think it's bad or anything. But one of the problems that I found is that my opponents were able they knew I was going to try to move cards around when I played Kingpin. Like, they were then able to anticipate that was coming, and that what I was doing on my side was kind of easier to predict when we had Kingpin there. So I don't know, maybe I was just getting unlucky with it, but Kingpin just didn't really work out very well. I ended up switching him out with Killmonger, and Killmonger for that destroy has worked out a little bit better for me. But again, that's certainly a very replaceable card here. But the big thing is being able to get Sandman out early and using cards like Aero, using cards like Professor X to be able to lock down locations. So anyways, let me know what you guys think. Have you been using any of these combos yourself? What do you think about this team? If you need a new team to try out, go plug some of these cards in, go try it, see if you can take out some of those meta teams, some of those top decks that are out there, and go report. how they're doing. I always love reading the comments, seeing how you guys are able to utilize the decks if you can have the same success that I've had with them. So thank you guys so much. I promise I will not wait so long before I make my next Marvel Snap video. I want to get a lot more coming, get a lot more regular Snap content, get some live streams going. I want to go play this on a live stream. So thank you guys very much. I'll see you on one of those live streams.